This story begins with a man who escaped from prison 14 times. They called him the Houdini of Florida. His story is full of escapes. But behind all of that, there's pain. This is the story of Mark DeFriest. Mark DeFriest was born in the United States in 1960. When he was young, he lived with his father, a man who served in the U.S. Army. His father had fought in World War II and later worked in American intelligence. Mark also lived with his stepmother, a woman who never accepted him. This part of the story feels unreal, but be patient, it's just the beginning. Mark was very close to his father. They spent a lot of time together, and during those moments, his father planted fear inside him, fear of the Soviet Union. His father used to tell him, "One day they will come. They will attack us here in America. You must always be ready. You need to know how to fight, how to escape, how to survive during war." And that's exactly what he taught Mark. From a very young age, Mark had no friends. His only friend was his father. He spent his time in a small workshop near their house, fixing machines, repairing tools. He was extremely intelligent, but socially, he struggled. Not fully autistic, but unable to understand people. And then everything changed. When Mark turned 18, his father died. Before his death, his father told him, "Everything in the workshop belongs to you." Mark believed that completely. So after his father died, he took everything and left. Legally, the inheritance wasn't settled yet. And when his stepmother realized what he had done, she called the police. The police came to question Mark. They knocked on his door. And in Mark's mind, this wasn't the police. This was an attack. He panicked, he grabbed a weapon, and escaped through a back window. A chase followed. Mark was caught. He was charged with theft and fleeing from police. The judge sentenced him to 4 years in prison. June 8th, 1980. Mark entered prison. And that's when the real nightmare began. 1 month later, July 8th, 1980, Mark escaped. During a religious class, guards were distracted. There were fewer of them. Mark and other inmates ran toward the fence. Barbed wire. Sharp. Dangerous. But Mark remembered something his father taught him: how to cross it without getting hurt. He made it. He ran into the forest. Police spotted him near a bridge. They started shooting. Mark jumped into the river, swimming underwater to avoid the bullets. His friend was caught. Mark escaped. He found an isolated house, a parked car. Once again, his father's lesson saved him. He started the car and drove away. That night, he checked into a motel. And that same night, the police arrested him again. That was Mark's first escape. After his first escape attempt, authorities made a decision. They didn't send Mark back to regular prison. Instead, they sent him to a mental hospital. When Mark arrived there, he was confused. "Why am I here? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not crazy." But this wasn't a normal hospital. It belonged to the prison system. Iron fences, locked doors, armed guards. From the outside, it looked like a hospital. From the inside, it was still a prison. Mark believed one thing: if I'm trapped here, then I have to escape. About a month after arriving, Mark came up with his first plan. Every morning, the nurses and doctors made coffee, a large pot shared by everyone. Mark noticed it, and an idea came to his mind. He stole liquid LSD from the hospital pharmacy, quietly, carefully, and one day he poured it into the coffee pot. Then he waited. Minutes passed. Doctors started acting strange. Nurses lost control. Patients became completely wild. The hospital turned into chaos. People were screaming, laughing, arguing, fighting machines. Total madness. Everything worked. The drug had taken effect. But Mark didn't escape. Instead, he sat there, watching. He enjoyed the scene. Soon, guards arrived. They locked everyone inside. Doctors and nurses were rushed to emergency care. They knew someone had drugged the coffee, but they never proved it was Mark. Days passed. Mark joined a workshop inside the hospital. woodworking, tools everywhere. And once again, his simple thinking returned. Oh, why give us all these tools if you don't want us to escape? That's when he built something unbelievable. Two guns, made completely out of wood. He hid them in his pants. Then he pulled out one of his own teeth, blood everywhere. He ran to the nurses, screaming in pain. They panicked. Guards rushed him to a dentist. They treated him and decided it was normal behavior for a mental hospital. On the way back, Mark asked, "Please, can I use the bathroom first?" They agreed. Inside the bathroom, Mark pulled out the two wooden guns. He walked out. Nobody moved. At first, the guards laughed. Wooden guns. Seriously? Then Mark fired. He shot a phone on the wall. It exploded. Silence! The guards froze. Mark took the keys, opened the doors, and escaped again. This time, for real. After that escape, everything changed. Mark stole a truck. He was on the run again. But this time, he didn't get far. Police caught him after a violent chase. There was chaos in the city. Property damage, fear, panic. Now, no hospital wanted him. They called him dangerous. Mark was sent back to real prison, a city jail, while waiting for a final decision. A medical board was formed, 5 doctors. Their mission? To decide one thing. Was Mark mentally fit to stand trial or not? 4 out of 5 doctors said no. They believed Mark's mind worked like a child's. He was intelligent, but unable to understand consequences, right and wrong, legal and illegal. But the 5th doctor disagreed. He was a respected psychiatrist, experienced, powerful. He was also the director of the mental hospital Mark had escaped from, and his opinion mattered most. He told the court, "This man knows exactly what he's doing. He's mentally competent." The court believed him. Mark was sentenced again, more than 10 additional years, on top of the original 4. All charges combined, thefts, escapes, stolen vehicles. Mark was transferred to a Florida prison, one of the toughest prisons in the country during the 1980s. This place held death row inmates, the most dangerous criminals. The moment Mark arrived, they restrained him, a full body harness. They treated him like an animal. They locked him alone. But Mark wasn't weak. Somehow he destroyed that cell. They moved him. He destroyed the next one too. Every place they sent him ended the same way until they found a solution. A special suicide prevention cell. Soft walls, no sharp edges, no way to hurt himself. They thought this would stop him. They were wrong. Mark noticed something, a long metal rod, hidden inside the toilet. So he pulled it out and started working on the door. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't sneaking. He was trying to leave normally. Guards beat him over and over. But Mark didn't stop. Every time they gave him a disciplinary report, and every report added more years to his sentence. His release date kept moving further away. Eventually, they placed him in solitary confinement. No blanket, no mattress, no light. Conditions worse than prisoners of war. Newspapers began writing about him. Human rights activists started speaking out. "This isn't justice," they said. "This is torture." Even the psychiatrist who testified against him changed his mind. He met Mark again and admitted, "I was wrong." He said Mark was not mentally fit after all. Mark had never killed anyone, never hurt anyone. His only crimes were theft and not understanding life. By then, Mark had spent nearly 40 years in prison, and still, he was not free. For years, Mark Dufresne was forgotten, locked away, hidden from the world, until one day, his story surfaced. Journalists started digging. Old files, court records, medical reports, and what they found shocked everyone. Human rights organizations spoke out. They said, "This man was never a violent criminal. He was mentally impaired, and he was punished for not understanding the system. Public pressure grew. The case was reviewed again. Even the psychiatrist who once testified against Mark changed his position. He admitted, "I made a serious mistake." Mark understood things, but he didn't understand consequences. He couldn't clearly distinguish between right and wrong. Mark had never killed anyone, never assaulted anyone. His crimes were limited to theft and escape attempts. For decades, those actions kept him locked away. Finally, the court allowed Mark to apply for parole. In 2019, after nearly 38 years behind bars, Mark DeFrist walked out of prison, free. No chains, no guards, just silence. A world he no longer recognized. Technology, people, life. Everything had changed. Mark lost his youth, his freedom, and most of his life. Not because he was evil, but because he never truly understood the world or how to live inside it. This wasn't the story of a criminal. It was the story of a misunderstood man, the Houdini of Florida, finally free.